Don Quixote would be proud. You know, tilting at these windmills here, these are big, big structures, and in some cases, millions of dollars. You got to put enough of them together to go from about 1.5%, which is what the electricity they provide in the country now is worth, up to 20%, which is what we want to get in about another 22 years. These things are huge.
They are. 45 meters long in some cases.
Now, what are you guys doing with this?
We're looking at the way the machine behaves in the inflow of the atmosphere.
What does that mean, inflow of the atmosphere?
Inflow is the wind. As the wind blows, it changes direction, changes speed. It affects the way the rotor is loaded. So,
But don't we already know that?
not for these size machines. Some of this stuff doesn't scale very well. The newness of this machine is that it's designed for this low wind speed environment. It's an optimized machine for what we call Class 2 and Class 3 wind regimes, which are the predominant wind locations in North America. There's 20 times more of what we call the low wind speed environments than there are of the higher wind speed environments.
The rough translation, as I understand it, is getting more power out of less wind.
Exactly.
A wind turbine this size could provide enough power for about 3,000 homes. That means about 200 turbines would equal the power generated at one coal plant. Each turbine requires only a small amount of land and pays landowners up to $5,000 per turbine.
You can go corn around it, you can run cattle, you can go back to doing whatever you wanted to do and get paid for doing it.
There are environmental considerations some may not realize.
Wind turbines don't use water. You have to be near or on water for any other kind of generation you want to talk about. Coal, natural gas, nuclear, they all put a huge amount of water vapor into the air, and you got to have water to run them. You don't need that with wind, and it's a big deal west of the Mississippi.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you were a true believer in
I
wind
am.
power.
You got it, Frank.
So where are these things made?
Brazil.
Brazil?
Yeah.
Brazil. But you think they're going to come back to this country because...
I think they are, because everything about what we do is related to cost of energy. And so whatever affects that cost of energy is negatively is going to be changed.
Jim,
so if it's commodities...
I understand, but the problem is, and we've got it with every industry, is if somebody can be paid a tenth or less of what an American worker is going to be paid, you're going to build these in some other country.
But if it costs 10 times more from the energy perspective to move it here from wherever it's made, that offsets that low cost.
So that brings
labor.
it back onshore.
That brings it back onshore.
Here, come take a look. Look, see if you can look in there. That is cool. We want to go from 1% of our power generated.
1.5, by the way.
Okay, you get it, 1.5.
We were at 0.1 for so long, I got to brag about every 0.5%.
All right, I'll give it to you. 1.5 to what? 20% we want to go.
That's right,
to.
by 2030.
By 2030.
That's the goal.
What's it going to take to get there?
It's technically possible. Politically, I honestly don't know. If we have the fortitude, that is, we the people have the fortitude to make our politicians do what we know is the right thing to do, and in my case, this is the right thing to do. They need to focus on the fact that we want to move away from buying most of our oil and coal and whatever else we use to make energy from foreigners.
Isn't it true that this kind of power really requires us as consumers to change the way we think about the check we write each month? Because with this kind of power, we're buying it up front. I mean, we're accustomed to pay as you go right now.
The reason that most people aren't aware of front-loading those costs is because all that purchasing was done by our grandparents. So the Rural Electric Association, that was all that infrastructure that was installed, the interstate highway system that Lyndon Johnson and Dwight Eisenhower built, were all done by our parents and grandparents,
right.
and we're blind to that. So they did it, and we need to do the same thing again, but we need to do it with today's technology, not 50-year-old technology. And so, yes, if you want to call that front-loading, okay, to that extent I agree.